Hi guys, Judo here. I'm joined by the awesome Khaamo,
Hello again.
RPG expert. So recently we have watched through the first two seasons of Preacher. How did you find them?
I find them very entertaining. They're okay. So basically, Preacher is about a preacher who is trying to find God because God is missing, and this preacher is not a very nice person.
Yeah, it's not a religious show. Don't think
No.
that it's a religious show because it's very much, if anything, anti-religious. It's a very, very dark show. Even though it's called Preacher and it's about a preacher, it's kind of almost ironically named because he is such a bad guy. He is not very much like a preacher.
He is an alcoholic. He is abusive to pretty much everyone he knows. He is very self-obsessed and obsessed with his own quest.
It's called Preacher because he inherits his father's church, and that kind of triggers his journey for redemption, really, where he kind of raises a lot of questions about God. What does it mean to be a god? Does God care about humanity? Is there any point praying to God?
And most importantly, where the hell is God?
Does it matter if there is a God or not? And yeah, most importantly, where is God exactly? So the show's a bit of a comedy, it's about him, the preacher who's inherited his father's church, his vampire best friend who's played by Joseph Gilgan. The preacher is played by Dominic Reagan from, you may know him from Dominic Cooper, you may know him from Mamma Mia, the very popular musical. This is a very different role from Mamma Mia where he plays the sort of groom-to-be. This is a dark, violent show. It's got lots of drugs in it, lots of death in it, lots of anti-religious jokes and humour, lots of BDSM, lots of, a lot of dark adult themes.
Lots of hell.
So the Preacher started out as a comic book series by Irish writer Garth Ennis, who wrote some stuff for 2000 AD is how we kind of know about him. We've both read the comics, how do you feel about the changes they made from the comics? Because one of the writers behind it's Seth Rogen, that you've probably seen a lot of shows from. He sort of started out in Freaks and Geeks, and he's in the 40-Year-Old Virgin and all sorts of things. He's very American, and it's a very British, it's very sort of got a very UK European sense of humour to it. But it is set in America, and what do you think about the changes the American writers have made?
Yeah, they've definitely Americaned it up a bit. There's a few changes to the story that I think are a bit pointless, but maybe they make better TV that way. Changes the order of certain events.
I think the pacing's really slow. I think when you're reading a comic, because you can read through it quite fast. You're not reading it at the pace that someone's speaking it. So already the comics flow very fast. You're kind of flicking. Especially the sort of shots of things, you just sort of glance over them when you're reading a comic. Whereas the TV show, I feel like it felt really slow.
Yeah, I read through a lot of Preacher in one day.
Because you can,
the TV series, watching it as it's been coming out, waiting a week for the next episode, it has felt a bit like it's not really going anywhere.
Yeah, because you can read through the equivalent of the first series in an hour, effectively. If you're reading the comics, you can probably read through what was made into the first season very, very quickly. You could probably read through all of the first two seasons within an evening very easily, plus a lot of stuff that they cut out. It looks like they might stick it back in the third season, some of the stuff. Don't want to spoil it too much, but there's a lot of sort of backstory and stuff that we were wondering if they were going to include it, and it does look like it's going to make an appearance in the third season. One of the reasons I thought it was very slow was because I felt like the first 2 seasons could have been 1 season, because that meant that it took till halfway through the second season to introduce the main villain of the full all the series. But
yeah, we were always wondering, like, where is he? Is he going to show up now?
Yeah, I mean,
one shot of him in the first season.
We got like a shot of the back of his head and we're like, oh, and then he's not in it again for very, very many episodes. And that, I think, slows it down a little bit, because if they'd introduced him earlier, it's easier to make it into a consistent storyline. Instead, they chose to sort of make one villain the villain of the first season and not introduce the main villain till the second season. I don't know if they had to do that, really. I think they could have had him introduced in the first season if they'd gone at a slightly faster pace.
And the villain they had in the first season was from like the middle of the comics.
Yeah.
It was like after the preacher, Jesse Custer, goes back to the town for like the second time.
Yeah. Yeah, they do
so I guess they just put him at the start to like get him out of the way.
I think because he's a more generic villain. Like, he's the villain they chose for this first season, the Saint of Killers, is a wee bit more of a generic villain to her star in a lot of ways.
I was thinking Odin Kincannon.
Oh, sorry, Odin Kincannon. I don't really know why they decided to start with Odin Kincannon, like, to be honest. Like, I think they should have started just... They could have cut out a lot of the backstory and stuff, but they should have just ploughed in, at least had her star in the last half of the first season instead of the last half of the second season.
Yeah.
But her star is quite a controversial villain, so maybe they wanted to kind of
test the waters.
See what
people thought of the show before they made it even more crazy.
Yeah, because her star is really out there. He's definitely my favourite villain in any comic series. He's really just like, he's a mad cult leader, but that's putting it very lightly. Like, he's
basically very high up in the Illuminati, although it's not the Illuminati. It's like a super Christian version of the Illuminati, but he's also a total sexual deviant.
Yeah, I think it's probably the sort of cross between the fact that he is like one of the head people in the church, but he's also like, yeah, but I guess because over here in the UK anyway, we hear a lot of stories about priests that are into some hookers and all sorts of stuff. It's pretty much common scandal that you find out a lot of people in the church have been keeping mistresses and stuff like that, and they're actually like really not as holier than thou as they wish you to believe, and that's, you can tell a lot of the comics are definitely based on that sort of stuff that we have in the papers over here. Sort of, he is, yeah, one of the most sexually deviant people ever, and he's also really high up in the church. I don't know where they're... I think they're worried that it would end up like Game of Thrones, where Game of Thrones was popular, so it ended up going too fast and ended up going past the books. But The Preacher is finished, so I guess they're just hoping for 12 seasons, because the pace,
to make it as long as possible.
The pace they're going at, this is going to end up a 12-season show, and that's even neglecting the fact that they could make up their own shit and add it in. Unless it looks like they're going to cut out all of the sad party and all that, or are they going to throw that in like later on?
It seems like they're going to just ignore that completely.
It does seem like they're ignoring it. It seems like
they got Odin Kincannon out of the way, season 1. Like, got the whole, I don't remember the name of the town, but they got all that stuff out of the way.
Odin Kincannon is played by the guy that played Rorschach in The Watchmen, which is almost impossible to spot him because A, he always has a mask on most of the time, and B, when he doesn't have the mask, he like still looks really different. So, but he's a great actor. He's quite creepy. Like, he's quite
definitely.
But he's quite a good psycho.
He does look exactly like the character from the comics?
I think the person that plays his girlfriend is famous in something. Is it Suits or something? I'm sure she's in something or other. Is it Orange is the New Black? She's in something I haven't seen. Is it Ruth Negga? She's great in it. Dominic Cooper is probably like the worst in it, but he's still great. Like, I think it's just because
He's good, but he just doesn't quite look right for the part.
He's not as cowboy as I kind of. I guess he's not as Clint Eastwood. Like in my head, like Jesse Custer was very wanting to be Clint Eastwood, like modelled on like wishes he was Clint Eastwood sort of guy, like wishes he was like one of the people in the western sort of tall.
John Wayne is the spirit animal.
Yeah, John Wayne literally is a spirit animal in it, which hasn't been mentioned yet at all, even though it's probably one of the better bits in the comics. So I don't know if the whole third season's going to be a flashback to him and his family, but I'm like, they kind of threw in a wee bit of flashback in the second season.
The way they've set it up for the third season, it does seem like it's going to be a lot of backstory.
I'm not familiar with the guy that plays Star, but we looked him up and apparently he's in everything, but he's just a kind of jobbing TV actor. It's in like every single daytime TV show ever.
Pip Torrens, what a name.
Pip Torrens, yeah, he's fantastic as Star. He kind of nailed the part. I was a bit suspicious because it's such a
weird part.
Yeah, you have to be like slightly, like he nails it that he's like slightly camp, but also like totally terrifyingly hardcore, like that he would like totally garrote you to death like in 2 seconds, but he's also like, oh, my suit, what do you think of my hat, kind of like yeah, like that kind of thing. I don't think Dominic Cooper has as much like chemistry with him as I would have liked though. He's too like frowny. He's not enough like, I don't know. Do you know what I mean by that? Like there's a sort of I would like to see a wee bit more chemistry between. I don't know if maybe it's not Dominic Cooper. It's just the way it's been written, but I think they need to hold up the difference between Star and Dominic Cooper. Like Jesse Custer like a lot more. Because they seem a lot more like at odds with each other in the comics than.
Yeah, in the series they've kind of been working together on certain things.
Yeah, like what? Like I can see why, but like. It makes it less of a hero, like less of an anti-hero versus anti-villain. That's how you want to describe it.
No, I guess he is just a pretty straight villain in terms of what he actually does.
But he supposedly wants to save the world.
Mm-hmm. Everyone who wants to save the world is a villain.
Yeah, they want to save the world by pretty much having a cult that everyone's going to follow. I don't know, I suppose that's pretty evil. I would like to see a wee bit more of Jesse Custer versus Star, but I don't know, hopefully that's going to be in the next season. Because I think they could get some really good mileage, even if they're just going to make up a bunch of stuff that's a wee bit Americanized. Like, for example, one of the characters in the comics, he has quite a really British humour, like funny backstory that's not very serious at all. And in the TV show, he's kind of like got this big heartfelt backstory about how he was pure in love and all this stuff and everything was shit, and it's like very American.
This is the character of Eugene, or as he is known in the comics, Arseface.
Yeah, and it kind of ruins it because he's supposed to be a wee bit of like relief in the comics, a wee bit of like, he is a comedy character in the comics, and yeah, they give him this big emotional backstory in the pure TV show, but the rest of the stuff they made up about him is pretty good. Like, they have actually really expanded on his story.
Yeah.
Apart from the Americanized, it's all over a girl backstory, like, why does everything have to be over a girl? Why does it always have to be a high school loser that fancies some popular girl? Like, that's just the typical American story, and it's like, no, that's not his backstory. Like, that wasn't his backstory. His backstory was Like, he's a massive fan of Kurt Cobain, and when Kurt Cobain kills himself, he, like, tries to kill himself, like, and he fails.
Yeah, it goes wrong and he ends up with an arse face.
With an arse face, but apparently that's just... Americans just don't understand humour sometimes, or at least it seems like the writers didn't understand the humour and decided to make it a very serious backstory. Very serious, heartfelt backstory. Like, what? Arseface has a heartfelt backstory? He's supposed to be funny.
They've really been... I guess in the first season they were trying to use him to show that Jesse's really not a nice person. He's not really trying to be good and fix all the problems in his life. And he's still just selfish and self-obsessed and will do anything he can to get his own way.
Yeah, we'll leave the review there, and hopefully we'll be back reviewing the third season, which we're really super excited for, because the directing, the acting, the writing has all been pretty much spot on. All 9s and 10s out of 10.
Yeah.
Do you agree? Just a little would like to see a wee bit faster pacing and a wee bit more Hair Star in it. A wee bit more Jesse Custer versus Hair Star. Hopefully they're not going to cut out too much or Americanise it too much more, but we'll see. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed watching our review, and if you've seen The Preacher, leave a comment below, and if you've not seen it yet, you definitely have to watch it. It's awesome. But don't watch it if you're easily offended anyway. Lots of love, guys, and thanks for watching. Take care. Bye.